So I think it's important that I talk to you about where we are today, so you know the context of what I'm going to share. Then I'm going to go back and tell you how we got here, and then we'll start on the slide deck. So Diana did a great job of providing my CV on me and where we've come as Inperium. Today, Inperium has affiliated 10 companies in 3 states and purchased 2 for-profit entities that we subsequently converted through a 338H10 election to not-for-profit companies. So that's the context of what I'm going to talk about today. The states are Pennsylvania, North Carolina, New Jersey, and we are going to be closing on a transaction in New York by the 15th of November. So that's the context of what I'm about to share. I also would like to share some of the folks that are here with me today from Inperium. So if you have questions for them related to their space at Inperium and where they've come from, that might be helpful to you. I'll start with Fred Lakuta in the back of the room. Fred, the former Deputy Secretary of the Office of Developmental Programs, works with me at Inperium. He runs the Inperium, Pennsylvania Adult, ID, and Mental Health space, and all the services that fall under Supportive Concepts for Families, Alvarium Healthcare, Harmony Crest Personal Care Service. Fred's been with us for several months, leading his consulting deal to come and be an Executive Vice President at Inperium. So his context as a former state employee, Deputy Secretary, could be useful in any of your questions. Seated in the back row on the left is Jay Deppeler. Jay is the EVP and Chief of Staff. He manages and oversees everything for me. I think he's probably the chauffeur who could do this presentation, answer all the questions, and likely get the equation right as well. I'm pretty sure he could seal the deal on all of it. Jay came from Edison Court, Inc. They were Imperium's 3rd affiliate. They are in Doylestown, Bucks County. They do services with juvenile justice system. They have a secure RTF. Jay has been with us, with me, since April of
February 2017.
February 17. He was our 3rd affiliate. So he's here to give a context on what it meant to be a CEO and president that went to a board that was looking for a partner, how that process worked. Seated next to him is Mike Herr. Mike Herr started on the Supportive Concepts for Families board where I was the president. He came over with the Inperium formation. He now serves as an elected director on the Inperium board. So he can answer any questions you have about how a board of Supportive Concepts felt, what we embarked on there prior to creating Inperium, and then what we do today. That's Mike Herr. To his left, our right, is Mick Schoenberger. Mick's first day of employment is today. So on his ride home with me, I have a quiz prepared to make sure that he's up to speed so he can do his job. I met Mick when I was working on affiliating our 5th affiliate, which was the Children's Home of Reading, where Mick served as a board member. Mick was also a VP of HR at Tower Health, formerly Reading Hospital System Network in Reading, Pennsylvania. Mick was involved in multiple hospital transactions through Tower Health. When I met him at a board meeting February over a year ago, presenting to that board, I handed him my business card at the conclusion of the meeting and said, if nothing else works out, I want to hire you. Here we are, some year and a half later, and Mick now joins us today. Today. So his perspective is affiliate board member who went through the process with that board. That charity has been around for 173 years in the city of Reading. They do a lot of work with kids, foster, adoption work. He can give you the context of what it meant to be a board member at Shore and now an employee for 6 hours at Inperium. Seated up here between Kevin and I is Jennifer Tercy. As much as Jay is my left hand, she is my right. She put together all your binders today. She coordinated the merging of all the presentations that were put together by the members of the group onto that laptop. If something fails during my presentation, which is likely to happen because everyone else's was successful, she's going to fix it because I can't. So that's Jennifer. She's here as well. So that's the context of who the folks are in the room. Now I'm going to go back to supportive concepts. Supportive concepts started in 1993. We were a very small community-based ID provider. We had 28 families that we provided the then home-based waiver services to. Habilitation, temporary respite, camp, and respite. We were very small, $300,000 contract. We grew as an organization from 93 till around 2013, 2014, when we reached that revenue target that every nonprofit gets to, where you're just big enough that you're charged higher fees for most of your fixed costs. You're not big enough to benefit from scale economies, and you're too small to really compete with the larger competitors. So you have a decision to make as a board. Our board decided that we were going to find a larger parent company to come in and affiliate, acquire, or merge supportive concepts with, so that we could advance our mission, meet our cash, our liquidity issues, address our waiting lists, have new technologies that were needed around revenue cycle management, EHR, EMR, IT infrastructure, phone systems, everything you could imagine from a structural perspective. We went out and spoke with a for-profit entity that was going to acquire us, convert us to for-profit, and then we would have become part of them. That didn't work for us at the board level, our families, or the individuals we supported. We then met with a Pennsylvania nonprofit and finally a New Jersey nonprofit trying to find that same partnership. What we came out of those three experiences with was a pretty good idea about what we needed to do, how we needed to do it, and what we needed to do differently, so all of the issues on the yes list and the no list could be one list combined, so that as organizations have to find a partner, there are no tipping points in either direction. Maintaining of culture, maintaining of board, a say at the table for the larger parent, advancement of your mission, maintaining your name. Very key components that all of you as nonprofit executives, boards, struggle with, needed to be handled in a different way than the three options that were proposed to us. So we decided that we were going to go it alone and try to be the buyer instead of the seller. So we wrote a detailed business plan, presented it to our bank, which was Metro Bank at the time, now First National Bank, FNB, where we asked for an extended line of credit that would give us in time, based on the addition of revenues and balance sheet assets that had limited debt, as a means to have the capital and the leverage to put systems in place to attract other organizations and be the entity that built the consolidator Inperium. Does that make sense to everybody? So I'm going to stop there. Does anybody have any questions about the background, where we are today, where we came from, before I dig into the presentation? No questions? In your packets are copies of all of our presentations, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time going through some of the slides that are very specific to Inperium. I put them in here. They are basically cut and pasted from our website. If you've been to our website, you're going to see much of this material. Similar to Rick's presentation, Inperium is a Type 2 509A3 supporting organization. It has a subsidiary, Inperium Management Services, that is the back office services company that provides all of the shared services. We're going to get into those a little bit later. It also has a for-profit division called Inperium Shared Services LLC. This is the division that provides the same services that IMS provides to members of the constellation, the partners in the group of Inperium, but to those that we do not or we lack the board governance control. So in our model, when we meet with potential affiliates, there are a couple options that can be customized. Do you want to singularly purchase our payroll platform, our revenue cycle management platform, our Relias training platform? You can do that and remain your own standalone entity, but use our scale, our volume, and our cost basis to purchase those services through Inperium Shared Services Inc. So Inperium Inc. is the consolidator. It's the entity that permits the combining of the balance sheet and revenues for leverage and liquidity access to cash and capital, and then IMS, Imperium Management Services, Inc., a 501c3, and Imperium Shared Services, LLC, a for-profit LLC, are the actual purveyor of the shared back office services. Does that make sense to everybody? Many people ask about our logo. Some people find interest in that it resembles a beehive, the meaning behind a bee, the abstract R. This was written as a means to show the creation of a realm, of a universe, of a constellation as the center point or axis of all the affiliate partners working in unison. I share that slide as well. That's from the website, as is our preamble, mission, vision, and values. Again, from the website. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. You all can read that. Here today is a scaled down listing of many of the affiliated companies that operate under Imperium's constellation. At the conclusion of the presentation, the final slide is all of them represented as they're structured, but here's a sampling of many of the companies. You'll see several of these have out-of-state names. Many of those are incorporated divisions. Some are unincorporated divisions. Each state nonprofit law dictates when you affiliate as a Pennsylvania nonprofit company whose parent is not from the state of the affiliate, so New Jersey, Massachusetts, New York, North Carolina, they sometimes require, regulators being they, that you have a standalone 501c3 issued from the state of the affiliate. So that's why you see on this listing that there are many state-specific affiliates on here. Here is how we present, from an organizational perspective, what our constellation looks like of affiliate partners. This is not your traditional top-down hierarchical reflection of how this works. At the center of the constellation is Imperium and Imperium Management Services, the consolidator from a financial perspective, and then the purveyor of the shared services. Off of those divisions are the arms of the affiliates that all work in unison to create a continuum of care. So our business plan mission in 2016 was to create an organization that was in 10 geographies, representative states, 10 states, with 10 services unique in each of those states, representing a continuum of care that began pre-birth with our Community Prevention Partnership Program through aging and death, our personal care and assisted living facilities. That was the original business model and business plan. We are about 33 months into that endeavor. We will be in 4 states by the end of this calendar year and well on our way to creating that continuum in the 5 to 7 year model that we had intended. This is how it's reflected in our model. Anybody have any questions? The decision. Top challenges overcome. There was a survey that was published. You can view it at www.bdo.com. It was a survey of 3,000 nonprofits that were done across the United States of boards and executives, where they asked them to comment on what the biggest challenges and concerns were for their organizations over the next 3 to 5 years. Here are the areas: finding a partner, which creates impacts, cybersecurity or IT, restores constraints and fraud risk, retention, recruitment, succession planning, finding revenue, adequate liquidity and funding. What's enumerated for you in each of those circles in this Venn diagram is how an affiliation, whether it be with Rick, with Imperium, your affiliate partner must be able to check these boxes in order to fully overcome, in my opinion, all of those challenges that were identified in that boardroom. So it's an interesting survey. It groups it by providers that are 5 million and less, 6 million, 25 million, and then greater than 50 million a year in annualized revenue. When you're looking for a partner, you want to be sure that all of these areas are something that their platform can bring. Value chain. How many people have heard the term value chain before? It's not new to anybody, correct? So everybody's familiar with value chain. So what you have is you have a support activity that's more granularly described as a value-creating activity that comes out the other side as two key components. Margin, if you're a finance person, focus on that first. Customer satisfaction, if you're a program person, because remember, we have to always appease our quality program people and our fiscal people, and there's a fine line between that, correct? Fiscal people in the room. So you can flip those depending upon who you're meeting with accordingly, because the one on top is typically viewed as most important. You want to be sure that in finance and accounting, drill down, accounting, auditing, taxes, treasury, banking, cash flow management, payroll and payroll compliance, time and attendance, representative payee management, all of those granular components that support financing and accounting as an overall support activity must result in margin and better satisfaction for your participants, clients, consumers, individuals, whatever you phrase that. This is a representation of our value chain that, again, is a good tool to share with your board, or as you're evaluating potential affiliates or targets, the areas that you would want to focus on from our experience in the past 3 years. Does anybody have any questions regarding the value chain? Am I going too fast? No one's nodding off. Outcome and benefit of affiliations with Inperium. This is a slide that's later duplicated in your handout, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. This was actually part of an article that Kevin Fee had written many years ago that he shared with me, and I wordsmithed into a document that we now use when we're meeting with boards when they make outreach to see if they have interest in affiliating and wanting to understand how it works or what's important. The words I've highlighted here are some of the areas that most boards in our experience, and at this point, Jay, we've met with 100 or more, we've found through post-mortem on those meetings that this is what most boards are looking for. Innovation and resources, whether it be financial resources or IT platforms or software system. Accumulation of capital, the ability to restate your current assets value on day of closing and how you leverage that to advance your mission and vision through an affiliation is a key component of an affiliation, which can result in your ability to grow your service lines either in your current geography or take those to other geographies. So in the Inperium model, what happens is, real example, we acquired a methadone clinic in Trenton, New Jersey, who was in a very strained condition. So unlike some affiliating companies, not Inperium, we do work with strained companies. There have been 2 so far that we've actually affiliated with who were in poor financial and programmatic consequence, the methadone clinic being one in Trenton, because we saw their geography and their service line and their leadership as a means to advance our model and platform. So what happens is we acquire them, we remedied their financial issues, we remedied their licensing issues, and now we have a DEA portable methadone license where we can take New Horizon Treatment Services from Trenton, New Jersey, and put it in other locations where other affiliates are located throughout the 3 states we operate. So it's a little variation on some other affiliation models that exist, in that we leverage the services line payers in those unique services from other geographies across into other affiliates. Now, what does that do? That gives the CFO at Step by Step, who may have been displaced because Inperium has a CFO, the ability to remain a CFO at Step by Step, but now one of your service lines is going to include the operation of a methadone clinic, which is going to further dilute your administrative costs, give the CFO and the fiscal staff new skills to learn, more pay, better benefits. So the model perpetuates the continuance of education and advancement for your employees as well as the service lines. Does that make sense to folks? We've done that time and time again. Jay's company quickly moved out of Bucks County and went into Lehigh County shortly after affiliation through the ability to leverage a relationship we had with one of our banks, one of the many banks that fund us. So Jay was able to advance his company's mission and grow the revenues by
26% is last year.
which is a story that we hear and see over and over again with each of our affiliates. Again, a more detailed version of this is in the handout for your review and use as you see fit. Key differentiators among affiliates. You want to shop for the one that does not use a slash and burn mentality. Slash and burn being merge and terminate, right? We're going to merge you in, we're going to terminate all your people, we're going to change your culture, and we're going to move on. We're going to dismiss your community involvement, your logo, your community awareness, your fundraising, your golf outing, and we're going to do it our way, and we don't care what you say. No slash and burn. Back office cost efficiency. Rick spoke to 125 million, sub 10%, correct? We're at 125 million, and we are sub 8% on the admin charges to our affiliates. So he's right in the right area in zip code. That 8% has capacity to go lower because the systems we're charging the affiliates for are really sized to accommodate 250 million. So as you're vetting your potential affiliate, you want to make sure that the system they have today can accommodate more than you and them combined, or your fee will likely increase. That was lesson learned, New Jersey affiliate. Yes, sir?
How do you determine that capacity?
By the scalability of the systems. So Paylocity, the price points, number of users, number of registered employees. So we have a metric that our finance department puts together. We have an integration and deal team that focuses all that out for us so that we know what capacity at what price point and then when we need to go to the next system. So for instance, we use MITC currently for time and attendance. We're about at the end of its shelf life. So right now we're embarking on converting to Kronos. Kronos is incrementally more costly than MITC, but the other savings we're able to afford will keep our fee sub 8, but allow us to get to around 500 million in lives served, number of employees paid, before its life expectancy would exhaust. And we do that for all systems. Ring Central, our phone platform, our due diligence software, we manage all of that out based on number of users, number of lives, number of data. In the cloud space storage, it's all maintained and part of our large metric that we manage. Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Employees are important. You must respect and retain the employees. I'm talking CFO to the short hour college student who's worked with you since they were 17, that's now 22, that knows your business. You must respect and retain them. You must communicate. You must make them aware of what's happening. You must be transparent with that communication. You must do it often. You have to do it in advance of the deal closing. You have to do it when the deal closes. And then you need to check back in and continue to make sure that they're heard and their needs are met. Because we're going to make mistakes. For instance, Children's Home of Reading. They did due diligence. We did due diligence. They had 600 employees. We had about 1,500 at that point. We missed that they had orthodontic care. We didn't. So we had to quickly, like that night when I got the call, the irate call, correct? That a couple families had gone for their orthodontic care for their children, and it wasn't covered. And we needed to fix it, but then also communicate immediately that it's been fixed and how we overlooked it. So again, it's all about that communication and respecting those employees. A diverse and experienced leadership team that has varied experience is the key to the mission. But when you put big personalities in a room, 9, 10, 11 of them, and then you hire folks like Lakuta and Schoenberger with their backgrounds, it can be tense at times. But the end product...
I'm glad I've missed those meetings.
The end product is having a talent-rich, innovative group that can overcome and grow and develop anything. Because the opportunities are out there, and as long as that team is cohesive and you all respect each other's perspectives and space and place, there isn't anything you can't overcome. That's 3 years of experience of bi-weekly meetings where sometimes it's less than comfortable. But you have to embrace that. Having the ability to know you're going to have a say at the table and know how conflict is going to be addressed is key to picking your partner. Anybody have any questions? Key messages. Again, I repeat, people hear merger or acquisition, and the first gut feeling they get is, I don't have a job. My people don't have a job. Our services are cut, right? As soon as you hear M or A, that's the first response that's out there. The affiliate you pick cannot employ that methodology. And you need to let people know right up front, you are not it. You need to bring other affiliates in, such as Jay, Dr. LaSorsa, Barb from CPP, and have them attest to, yes, I've been here for X number of years, there was no slash and burn, our employees are happy, folks receive pay increases, they have new roles and new jobs. You want references along the way that that is truly the case. They have to help you grow. You either cut costs or grow your enterprise, because if you stay still and stagnant in our businesses, right, you're doomed. Unless you have a large foundation or a healthy balance sheet that you can rely on, which we've seen a lot of lately. The affiliate that we're going to be bringing on board in New York had a $25 million endowment. They waited 3 years too long to begin to discuss affiliations. That endowment now has 0. Because they chewed through it under the belief that the state will pay us better, our beds will get filled, someone will give us a phone service grant, all those leap of faith funds that all your personnel and staff talk about happening didn't come to fruition. That $40 million company chewed through an endowment that they had built over 100 years in New York, over 3 years. And that's not the only one that has that either. There's another one as well. Not quite as egregious as that, but there's another one as well. So they must help you grow your business. You have to have access to capital, right? Cash is king. You have to be able to meet your bills. You have to be able to deal with when payments are delayed out of promise or your payer system because governor's budgets aren't approved. Remember when we all lived through that a couple years back? We didn't get paid until January, February? What happens if you don't have the cash in the event of the next time that happens? So you either need to have cash or a partner that has cash or credit facilities that can prop you up in the event of those situations. Mission, not operations focused. You don't want an affiliate in your business. You don't want an affiliate telling you open-toed shoes can't be worn by your employees. You don't want an affiliate to be told what your holidays are going to be. You don't want an affiliate to tell you that free to speak Wednesday is no longer permitted. You want to focus on the mission of growing the business, not the operations of your company. How you handle automobile accidents with a resident in the car. Real example, Jay Depler. Supportive Concepts policy was if you have an accident in the car, you're done. We're sending relief. You're not getting in the car again, you're going for a drug test. That works great in the ID space. Doesn't work great when a judge has committed someone to a facility and they have to be back in 5 minutes. That staff needs to get in that damaged vehicle, drive them to the facility, and then do the drug test and screen. So you want to make sure that you're not being told what to do operationally. Complete transparency. When I mean complete transparency, I mean invites to all board meetings. All affiliates and their boards, 105 people strong, are invited to every Inperium board meeting. Diana participated in the last one. She can attest to probably 75 people in the room at that board meeting. We do monthly reports to all affiliates. You get your individual financial reports. You get a consolidating and a consolidated financial report. So you get to see how your peers are doing, and you get to see how the whole entire company is doing. The monthly reporting package includes criteria on revenue cycle management, outcomes of accreditation and licensing, full transparency across all the affiliates. The affiliate doesn't agree to letting their peer companies in Inperium share all those details, then they're not for us, and you should really consider if they're for you. And a seat at the table, which I'm going to get into in a flow chart here. When I say a seat at a table, I mean a board seat in a class of director that gives the director that's appointed the authority to make decisions that drive the entity. Okay? So for me, those are the key components when shopping for an affiliate partner you need to be aware of. The art of deal flow. As you're vetting potential companies to affiliate with, you want to make sure that their growth approach, goals, and ideas are to a degree that can support the systems, the costs, and ensure permanency and progress the model. You don't want to have, in my opinion, a conversation where, well, when we get to 125 million, we should be good. Because at 125 million, you're going to have the same issues you had at 50 million. So you should be looking for a partner that has a big strategic vision that wants to grow systematically, very contrived, to a point, because perpetual movement and advancement is the only way to ensure the best systems, the best pay, and the best service. For us specifically, we seek to onboard 3 affiliates a year at a minimum. Last fiscal year, we closed 6 transactions. This fiscal year, we've done 2 so far. We're looking to do our 3rd in November. And we're actively engaged in 5 other conversations where we're in the due diligence process. Because we need to meet that target of a minimum of 3 to continue to support Kronos, the secure data room, and the data warehousing. If you don't have the affiliates and you don't have the conversation, the model falls on its face. Make sense? Leveraging of the CEO. One of the key evaluators for me at Inperium is the relationship, knowledge, flexibility of the CEO and its board at the affiliate level. So in our experience, one meeting, probably Diana's as well, with the CEO, board chair, CFO, or any combination of those executives, very quickly let you know whether this is going to work or not, because they are the entity and the group that make the deal work. If you can't work with them, you don't connect with them, you might as well stop there. I stayed in the New Jersey potential deal a little too long because I started to develop a relationship with the executive who I liked a lot and thought a lot for, and then when I learned he was leaving in 6 months and I had very little appreciation for the people beneath him that were coming up, I should have left then and I didn't. So it's very much important that the relationship you feel and have with that executive and their staff when you meet is the key to the success and not wasting your time. Because to Kevin, Diana, and Rick's point, making the decision quickly to move or not can be costly, and it's also a waste of everybody's time. Anybody have any questions? The cash matter. So here's what Kevin talked about in non-professor language. Right, Kevin? Agreed? Factors to liquidity, growth and expansion of payers, geography, AR, short and long-term credit, considerations related to cash. Need to make sure we have an appropriate combination of short and long-term debt to make sure we have enough operating capital. Increases in AR. Many of you probably carry a pretty robust AR balance on your balance sheet, supported by your cash in order to grow, or if there's a hiccup in payments, that cash crunch can become quite uncomfortable. So you need to make sure that you have a master trust indenture or some consortium of banks that have given you a maximum lending limit, that when you meet certain tipping points, you already have access to that credit versus the waiting until it happens and then reaching out model. And then obviously effectively leveraging all of your appreciated assets. How'd I do, Kevin? Perfect. I'm not a CPA by trade. So here it is, the flow chart. Here is a customary structure of any new affiliate. You could insert your company name here. It has a board of directors. It has its own assets, EIN, mission, the foundation. It has service contracts, back office admin, and then union and non-union staff. Our newest New Jersey affiliate has a small union of 100 employees that provides services in their ID residential programs, and then they also have a segment of non-union employees. So this slide originally didn't include union until South Jersey Behavioral Health came to the table, and now the new affiliate in New York actually has 2 unique unions that it uses. On your right-hand side, you can see how Inperium is structured. Inperium Inc., it has Inperium Management Services I spoke of. Under Inperium Management Services are your professional and direct staff, your shared services system and back office staff. It's governed by a board. There's an executive committee of the board that's comprised of elected directors of the board of directors and then an affiliate class of directors. So the elected directors have a certain standing and say and certain reserve powers. The affiliate directors do as well. And then the executive committee consists of 3 independent community members from the elected class and 2 employee officers from Inperium on the elected class. So I'm an elected director. Jay is an elected director. We serve on the executive committee, and then there are 3 non-employee from the elected class of Inperium, which there are 11 total elected directors, that serve as the executive committee that also have reserve powers that they can govern and dictate over the operations of the company. The affiliate class directors are for those entities that have an elected director seat and an affiliate class seat, who in concert make decisions if required under the reserve powers of the sole member, specific only to their affiliate. So when I originally created this, the board structure wasn't laid out in this way. Everyone had the same board standing seat. And then it dawned on me after about the 4th affiliate that I was outnumbered. That the affiliate directors could vote on matters not related to their individual entity, but also for the parent in a coup against the main company. Does that make sense to everybody? So we then embarked on a reworking of how we ensured that such a scenario as the children's home affiliate and elected director making a decision to change a director on the ACE board could not occur by the creation of that structure. Does that make sense to folks? Anybody have any questions? So how does it work? Here we go. Same slide, advance forward. New affiliate creates a new class. That new class is the sole member class. 2 directors from the elected legacy class are appointed to that new class of the affiliate as the sole members, with 51% reserve powers over certain aspects of the operations of the affiliate, which I'll get into later. In exchange for that, the board of the affiliate elects directors as an affiliate class or an elected class based on the customizable affiliation agreement that's arranged between the Inperium board and the new affiliate board. At the same time that happens, all non-union direct care staff become employees of Inperium Management Services staff. All admin, back office services and staff become part of the Inperium Management Services staff and systems. Then there's a employee services agreement executed between the affiliate and Inperium Management Services that leases back or shares those professional staff back to the affiliate to use to satisfy its service contracts. And The shared services that are now combined come through Imperium Management Services through a shared services administrative agreement that goes back up to the affiliate. Note that the assets, EIN, mission, the foundation all remain with the affiliate. They're untouched by Imperium. And the union employees stay over here off to the side, are not part of IMS, and filter up through the current employer to the service contracts to the affiliate. Does that make sense better for people seeing the flow chart? Yes, sir.
Will there be a test after?
You willing to conduct it?
No, I'm just checking.
I put this slide in here. I don't know if we want to spend time on it. We can come back to it at the conclusion if we'd like. Supportive Concepts was the first nonprofit to adopt an ESOP. In turn, Imperium adopted that ESOP. This is a flow chart that explains how that ESOP works and the possible benefits to it. It's a rather complex matter, actually championed by Kevin Fee. His idea, he tried to have it patented and it was unsuccessful, but it's his idea that he and I spoke of. I found great value in the model, the benefits of an ESOP, how it was structured. Really believe it has great utility. I believe that we will fund it before the end of this plan year for one of the affiliates within the constellation of Imperium. But I can skip over this unless people want to hear about it and we can come back to it, or you can simply review it. Is there a preference?
Come back.
Come back. Bylaws and reserve powers. Sole member election. So now you've affiliated. The control must be established by the parent company. So Journey Health, Imperium, there are minimally required areas that the sole member must have majority control over for the consolidation of balance sheets to work. These are those areas. Corporate governance, which further is election, re-election, removal of a director, the first bullet at the bottom. Capital investment, so any capital contribution or debt in excess of a certain percent of budget is how we typically structure the definitive agreements. So if you're going to have a capital expenditure in excess of 10% of your overall revenues, it requires sole member approval. If it's less than a set percent, the individual CEO, CFO, and board have the authority to do that. Business combinations, if you're going to merge, sell, acquire any of your lines, that requires the sole member. Sale, encumbrance, or lease, disposition, bankruptcy, again, as a certain percent of your revenues requires sole member. It's all customizable, that percent, based upon your revenues and financial condition. And then any acquisition or affiliation that you would wish to do, because what we have is we have affiliates join Imperium. They've been vetting and talking with smaller organizations in their same space, but they never had the systems or capital to make those affiliations happen. They quickly bring them to bear for Imperium. We just need to be aware that the due diligence has been done, that the legal work has been done for that sole member approval. These are the minimally required. Now, there's an entire list beyond the minimally required. So if you want to flip to your one handout in the back, I believe it's handout 2. That handout will actually define for you all of the reserve powers, inclusive of the 5 that I spoke of, as well as the other components. We don't need to spend any time on it. It's just for your reference so that you can get an idea of what all the areas are under the reservation of powers that could be assigned to the sole member or a certain class of the board. Every one of our affiliation agreements is customizable. So each of our affiliates have a different agreement related to different reserve powers. So for instance, in the Chore situation, it was important for them to maintain their name. So they wanted a 7/8 straight majority vote to change their name. So that means in order to change Chore, the Children's Home of Reading's name, we need a straight majority vote, Jay and myself and the other 17 members voting as a straight majority at 7/8 to approve that name change. So we customize any of those other reserved powers outside of the 5 that I mentioned earlier. That document might be helpful for you at a later point. Integration. Here's how our model at Inperium works. Systems learned through due diligence, do an integrated detailed plan, our applications, the affiliates' applications, how they meld together for all those areas listed, 1 through 12, 1 through 11, and how that correlates into each of the platforms. I'm going to get into later the timeline on from decision to affiliate to conclusion of full integration and how that works. But this is a schematic that we show when we kick off the integration meeting with the affiliates team and our team at Inperium that does the work. Any questions? Going too fast? Not fast enough? Shared services handout. We're running out of time, so we have 30 minutes, right? So there's a handout in there that also includes a listing of all the shared service offerings that Inperium provides. That's inclusive of quality, med training, certified investigation, representative payee, operational, fiscal metrics, in-house legal. It's all included in that listing. Take a look at that as you're vetting your potential partner. You want to see what all those services are, or the ones that you have that we don't. One of the beauties of our model in the non-slash and burn mentality is maybe you have a more robust accreditation and quality department, Jay Doppler. That department then becomes Imperium's department. Those staff get to advance, and we now roll their expertise and knowledge across to all the other affiliates. So that's the opportunity for the synergy. Because we don't do it all. We don't do it all well, and it's about a partnership. So it's about bringing to bear people, talent, and systems that we're deficient in or lacking or don't have that then we can then offer across to all the affiliates. Process and next steps. Kevin went through this. This is a little more detailed. First thing that happens is a non-disclosure agreement. There's a sample of one of the ones that we use in your package in the handouts. It's a basic document that says we're going to share with you some minimal materials. You're going to share with us. Don't share them with any third parties. If we decide to pull out of the NDA, we're going to both certify that we destroyed the materials you've shared. Pretty basic, straightforward document, 2 pages. It'll cost you only about $350 for your lawyer to review it. Right? Bashing lawyers, Kevin. I'm on your bandwagon. And his son is an attorney, by the way. So he has great standing on his opinion about lawyers. Letter of intent and term sheet. This is draft language. Rick made a point in his presentation that I chuckled at. I don't know if he caught it or not, but the notion of they want to negotiate the deals right off the get-go. An LOI and a term sheet is a general form, general arrangements, not the minutiae and details of the affiliation and definitive agreement. This is the part in the process where you send a very basic document that says, we're going to give X, you're going to give Y. This is the framework we're going to work towards. We reserve the right to change. You reserve the right to change. Everybody can walk and be happy whenever they want, not who the members are going to be that are elected to the, right, Rick? Right? It's becomes a nightmare and also an indicator of that you just can't work with folks. So that's the next part. Our model, at that point, we also propose to the executives that wish to remain and want to be part of the affiliation draft employment agreements. So that the CEO, CFO, and all the personnel that the CFO says, hey, Jen's important, Jay's important, we put right out there, here's what the title will be, here's what the role will be as we envision it, and here's the pay scale, stay payments, signing bonuses. It's all provided at this stage in our model. The success of getting it done is ensuring that your culture and mission advances, and who better to do that than the people that have built the company. So they have to understand and appreciate our view of their importance by at the same time we're talking about the terms of the affiliation, we're talking about your employment terms. Next is due diligence. This is where you have fiscal, program, business ops, and legal review. Do a technology assessment because there's typically a lot of risks in our business with HIPAA and other breaches that need to be explored before we open a data room and suspect your data or ours to a virus. We need to do a bit of vetting around that. And then we also start the approvals required process. What that means in Pennsylvania is when there is a change in control in some contracts and businesses, you need what's called a non-objection letter from the Pennsylvania Attorney General's office. This is basically a letter from the AG that says, we reviewed the definitive agreement, we reviewed the executive compensation proposed, we approved the agreement, we approved the compensation to be paid, that it's not a parachute payment, that it's not excessive comp, and we agree with this business combination. In New York, it's a longer process. In New Jersey, there's a circular on it, and it's like having all your teeth pulled out without anesthesia. And in North Carolina, here's a shot. They don't care. So that's part of the approvals that are required. Our legal in-house team puts those documents together. We've done 6 in PA with 2 purchases. They've been approved as quickly as 2 days and as long as 90. Not because there was an issue with the 90-day one, other than it was the middle of summer and everybody was on vacation. I guess the whole AG's office went away for 3 months. Next comes the definitive agreement. This is where it really starts to get cumbersome. Right, Rick? Diana, you've been there? Hopefully 1, 2, and 3 have set the framework that you know what the granular details are, but these are the documents that need to be put together that include the board actions, consents, mods, reps, warranties, all the legal details. And then we have the finalization of the employment contracts and then agreement on the administrative services and management services fee to be charged. Whether you use a not to exceed, market-based, or an at cost plus or at cost, again, is all negotiable. Then you have your regulatory approvals, AG, Department of Health, lending institutions, sometimes banks that lend to you have change in control provisions. Some banks view the affiliation as a change in control, other banks don't. They can't agree. Larger banks typically take a less risk-adverse position. Local community banks otherwise, so that's always an interesting issue in dealing with the lending institutions. In our North Carolina affiliation, BB&T demanded that we keep $1 million in cash in the affiliate for an $800,000 bond grant. So we did that and now are replacing them as the bondholder. So there's some nuances you work through. Then you go to closing. In this case, closing is basically the date you pick when you want to consolidate your revenues and your balance sheet. Board sign the documents. It's dated as those dates, and the combination is consummated.
In Pennsylvania, quick note, this actually go through Orphan's Court. They forced all these through Orphan's Court recently, and they have no idea what they're doing, but they actually make the bills anyway. And then it's a quick story. I had this old judge, 78 years old, who saw ways in Rural County. He looked at the deal and he said, both attorneys presented, he looked at it and said, I have no idea what you're doing, but no one seems to object, so I'll sign the order. He walked out of the room. That was basically it. So, but they do make you go through that last step too.
And then you're at full implementation. Does anybody have any questions? I'm trying to go quick so we can have questions because we have 15 minutes. Sample documents. Here's the timeline from our experience. So this is from decision day. So the decision, we're going to do this. We're agreeing that we're proceeding with Rick. 5 days, non-disclosures executed. 25 days later, LOI and term sheet. Roughly 90, you concluded your due diligence. 120, you have your definitive agreement. Regulatory approvals. This is where it starts slow. Can be 0 if you're in North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, or Florida because they don't care. Or it can be as long as 60 in Pennsylvania or in New Jersey, 9 months. New York, likely a decade. Certainly not a New York minute. I said that and nobody thought it was funny when I said it to them in New York, right? This doesn't work like that. You then have your closing, which is typically within 30 days of the actual approval. Now you can do a soft close before the approval if what the eggs you're going to scramble can be unscrambled if you're not approved, but that gets a little tricky. We did a closing in advance of an approval in New Jersey because of a strained financial condition. Came out the other side okay, not recommended, but you can do that. if you're having cash or other issues. In this case, it was a licensing issue around conditional license and a closure. You then start integration planning, and then in our experience, depending upon size, you're looking at 180 days for full integration of all systems, depending upon how quickly the affiliate can get organized or how quickly they can let our team come in and do the work and how much they want to be involved. So the process can take up to 420 days. It can be as brief as 180 to 240, but you're looking at roughly a year process from we're going to do this, you found the right partner until you're fully involved. In our experience. Commonly asked questions and answers. I'm not going to go through these. They're in your packet. I think we should take the last 15 minutes and open up the questions. Here's a better example of some of our other companies. Includes Wake Enterprises from North Carolina, South Jersey from Cherry Hill, New Horizons, the opioid. We have a for-profit electric company, an automotive garage that I didn't get into. Under our for-profit division, it's part of Inperium employee ownership. This will give you a little more information about who we are. Office of General Counsel. Jay had secured a potential affiliation with a company in Massachusetts that he walked away from because they started to fail more miserably, is that fair to say? Gave them a corrective action plan, looked for some deliverables from them, told them we would reconnect in 6 months. We're coming up on that point to see where they're at. That's likely one of the next areas we'll be going into will be Massachusetts. It's pretty ripe in that area for our model. How'd I do? Yes, ma'am.
Just along your implementation line here, when do you recommend talking with employees of the affiliate that you're combined with?
So, it's really executive specific.
Okay.
If you have alarmists in your group, you don't want to even mention it because, again, their first belief is going to be, I need to find a job. You already likely have overtime and vacant positions. The last thing you need is a mass exodus to your competitors because they heard affiliate, which means merge, and everybody's heard when mergers happen, everybody loses their jobs. And it's hard to get people to realize, no, it's not slash and burn. People aren't going to lose their jobs, no matter how many times you say. If you have a group that is aware you've been struggling, they trust management and believe in what you're going to say, like in Jay's instance, Edison Court, he told his employees, they bought in, they understood, because there was that level of communication. So really it's variable. But we help in some of those instances. In other instances, we don't. So in some instances, the executive has me or Jay or both of us, like in North Carolina, go in and you tell all of them. And in other instances, the executive handles it because they don't want the people to know who I am, who Imperium is. That's the beauty of our model. We don't need affiliate of on the letterhead. We don't need them to know who I am. It should be the same situation for them day in and day out. What they should feel is better pay, better benefits, possibly some new infrastructure, new technology. They don't need to know the inner workings unless that's important to these things. Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Not really, but I gave you a political answer.
That's fine.
Other questions for me or anyone at this point?
Questions for anybody or comments? Can we hear from you? Any of your thoughts about what you're doing that you'd like to share with us?
We could do the ESOP. 15 minutes, you'll be asleep. If you want to know how to leverage for-profit company and phantom shares of stock with a non-cash contribution in retirement. It was his idea and he's already asleep.
Anyone? Any other comments?
Yes.
Did I hear correctly that you have non-human services organizations that are
Correct.
affiliates?
Yes,
Can you
ma'am.
explain and say a little more about that?
We have an automotive garage that maintains fleet vehicles for affiliates. So it's a 5-bay, 6-mechanic strong automotive garage. It's S Automotive and Fleet Services. So we do state inspections, oil changes, tires, engines, transmissions for all of Imperium affiliates that are local to the Reading area. And then we also do the Animal Rescue League, Reading Police Department, Exeter Police Department, Boscov's, all their fleet management vehicles. So we have a software program that's just like Enterprise, but we don't charge like Enterprise. And then that's part of the for-profit division. We also have a green energy company that does green energy and light bulb LED conversion through grants through the Public Utility Commission. So for instance, where we would come in and replace that outdated exit sign up there, and it would cost the property owner very little because of our grant work with the Public Utility Commission in Pennsylvania. So we have certified electricians that go in and do energy work, power conditioning, some small solar work, and then LED and light bulb conversions.
And so what do you do for those companies? Is it just all that back end stuff for you?
Correct. We do all the back end stuff. That's correct. That's right. And we employ the electricians and the mechanics. We own the buildings. Correct.
So Ryan, can you tell us what you have found to be some of the special expertise that you've tried to recruit that might have been different than it was when you were supportive concepts? How does that change?
With supportive concepts, we were very one-dimensional. We had two payers. We had the County of Berks, county funding for our mental health, and then we had the promise payment system. So as we diversified into profit lines of business, profit accounting is very different than nonprofit accounting, obviously. Multi-state is different. So how you do an ROE, a report on expenditures in New Jersey, is different from how you do a quarterly report in Pennsylvania. So we've had to really network and market with talent that's not local to Pennsylvania, that's typically from another geography, that then telecommutes and periodically comes to Reading for important meetings to manage the larger enterprise. So for instance, Mick is originally from Rochester, New York. As part of his movement to Inperium, he bought a house and will now be leaving Rochester and coming to Reading as the Chief Human Resource Officer at Inperium. Our COO, which is Jay's counterpart, Rich Hunt, lives in Maryland, for instance. Mick's number 2 person at Imperium Management Services, who ran a benefit division company in Miami, Florida, still lives there, has a house in Pennsylvania. He commutes between because he built a company that supported 10,000 employees around health benefits, human resources, and recruiting. So we really had to think outside the Pennsylvania box to a much larger space to recruit the talent that we need. Jay, did I miss?
I think you got them all, yeah, absolutely.
You know, I'm wondering if that also is sort of the model for the future when you think about younger people and flexibility and the kinds of things that new generations are looking for. I would think that this might be the model that we're all going to be moving toward in the future.
You include older people too.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly.
What's exciting is we get opportunities to fly to all these states and meet with boards and talk about our model and meet their talent and sometimes take their talent. Mick isn't the first one I've coached. We met with an affiliate, they're out of Doylestown, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So we met with an affiliate, and quick story, their integration person who's a CPA, we got into integration, started sharing materials. They were a for-profit, they leveraged my offer to a larger company to get a better offer. So I hired an integration person. Right?
Seems fair.
And Charlie's an excellent gentleman who runs our integrations. He had been doing it for quite a few years in various spaces. That was actually an inpatient drug and alcohol facility where he came from. So I don't steal everyone's staff, but you come across some staff that are really talented that are just stuck, and it creates a lot of opportunity.
And if I could augment that point, I think that is the reality of affiliation as well, where you have, and I think Rick, you touched on, or it may have been Diana's question earlier about, do you find that there is talent in some of these organizations that, if given the opportunity, will flourish? And I think we've found that to be exactly the experience, where everybody's kind of buttoned up against the ceiling, the stagnation doesn't allow for the growth, they're starting to look elsewhere to kind of pivot away from what they may have really been interested in doing, the work they liked to do, but the opportunity was not there. Through affiliation, bingo, all of a sudden you have the opportunity for growth and expansion, diversity of the work that they do, and I think that people find a lot more satisfaction with that as well.